is very difficult. There's a fair bit of unity over there. And from there, as I said, is in government. We don't have a lot of say, but and not all Māori support the Māori Party. It's growing, it can only be an expression of something good. And we're a multicultural society. Growing numbers of Asians, particularly in Auckland, and the Pacifica community is quite large. We're a neoliberal economy. The economy was reformed in the mid-80s by the left-leaning Labour government. We took on neoliberal reform. Thatcher and Reagan were very jealous of our politicians because they did more and they did it faster in New Zealand with less opposition than anywhere else apart from Chile. So they called it Chile without the gun, which is a appalling thing to say. But 4 million people, and we're 1,000 miles from Australia. We're shipping out big heavy things like dead land. That's expensive stuff. The food miles debate, the carbon footprint of transporting our goods across the ocean is going to, it'll be an issue. It's going to be an issue. With 15% of the population, our fertility rates are higher. And the economy, which I'll talk, the Maori economy, which has been theorised, and there's certainly something to think about what we do. It's growing. The issues are growing. The issues are the same as everybody. These are some of the key ones. Unemployment, education, health, our resources, and our iwi and runanga, or tribal committees, how they operate, what culture they work to, what's important. And when we talk about the environment, there's these four concepts that come up time and time again. Now, these are our words for them, but you'll see some common ground, I'm sure. Whakapapa, papatūnuku, whamaungatanga, kaita. Whakapapa is a genealogy. Papa is a layer. The whakapapa can make layers. Everything has a whakapapa. Everything has a history. Everything has a geography. The wildlife, mountains, earth, and people. And when, that's my firstborn, when Tiki was born, and you do your whakapapa and you're coming down from the ancestors and your mum and your dad, and then you get to you. Until you have children, you're kind of the end of this. It was a mental moment. It was I can remember when I was doing my whakapapa somewhere, and I had it on Tiki over it. It's like, oh, I'm not the end. I'm just a link in the chain now. And it changes your attitude to a lot of things. I think it changed my attitude for the better. I was possibly selfish. Here's the whakapapa of Rangi Nui, Sky Father, Papatūnuku, Earth Mother. We, people, would come through here, Tāne, forest. Imagine the ancestors coming over from the Pacific Islands. Actually, originally, they've done the DNA analysis back to Taiwan, which fascinates me. But through the Pacific, down this chain of across the ocean, down the islands, because a lot of the Pacifica people whakapapa through the Tanaro, god of the sea. We got to the big islands of New Zealand, very big compared to the small islands of East Polynesia, and it was forested country, it was birds. Tāne created people through Hene Ahuoni, formed her out of clay, breathed life into her, through her nostrils. Hence the honey, we press noses when we meet. There's a bit more story about that too, I'll tell you when we get on to the key. Papatūnuku, the layers of earth, earth mother, personifying the environment. Again, fellow travellers, I'm sure you can appreciate the concepts here. One of a very sensuous Māori poet who died about two or three years ago, wrote off there, and I'll let you read that in your own voice, in your own way. He was a fitter and welder, and he made things out of metal and that. And was from the North Island and ended up living most of his life and dying down in the South Island. The artists, they're often excluded from their own community, or they exclude themselves. They go on these journeys, and he just never made it back. And that's a painting by Robin Kakura. Beautiful, and sort of an old face with she's probably this mother. There's all sorts of things going on in here. Got to look through these. Whanaungatanga, kinship, family, we're all related through whakapapa. It's in the language. So the word for land is whenua, so tangata whenua, people of the land, and that's also the word for placenta. So kaipō, home place, which is to be breastfed. And so we think of the world and we respect the world because it's all family, and so we are part of that family. And kaitiakitanga, this is the exercise and the act of looking after the environment, or looking after anything. Te ati is to guard, to look after, and kaitiaki is the person who does that. So we use this term a lot when we talk of environmental management, and I'm actually quite shy, so I take my glasses off so I can actually look in the eyes. It's a trick I learned quite a while ago. Right, so those concepts, those environmental concepts, they're actually social concepts too. Right? Each single one of those is a social concept applied to, among other things, the land. And so for me, when I talk about these things, and so the term socio-ecological resilience, Pākehā term, quite a new term, I see that as those four concepts being combined. This is a symbol you'll see, well, this is a plant from unfurling. It's a symbol you'll see a lot in the art and the carving. It's a spiral, symbolizing life unfolding. Now I mentioned my PhD was in Maori horticulture. In particular, I looked at what we call Maori potatoes, and yes, I know they come from South America. And that's what interested me. There's a crop developed by Indigenous people over many thousands of years, found its way through Spanish, through for us the English and the French, all the way around. Actually, some of these varieties came by South Africa. They were planted in South Africa where the British would coal their ships, refit their ships. They wanted food. They also planted rabbits and goats everywhere as well for the same purposes. And back to, or on the way around the south, ending up in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And there wasn't a lot of vegetable matter in the forests. They were full of birds. Only two land mammals, both of them bats, both of them incredibly endangered. Maize, South America, and ue, the gourd. I think it's from South America, but I'm not sure of that. And kumara, sweet potatoes. So these crops became very, very important. Actually, the kumara is all through the Pacific. So there's always been some links going across that ocean, as big as that ocean is. I love the colours. These are the key crops that the Polynesians brought with them to Aotearoa. It's the paper mulberry tree, sweet potato, the gourd, yam, taro. That is a tree, also called tea coca, cabbage tree, which you boil the roots up for, in the name there, it's in the Latin, for sugar, and karaka, which is a berry. And these are the origins. And one of the things I was looking at is that if we want to look after and develop these crops, and worry about pests and diseases, this is where they're from, this is where there's going to be research about them. So for us as Māori, not only do we have to collaborate with Pākehā, which is difficult, it's got to be international. Also, we're trying to sell them internationally. The idea of us as a small, traditional, constrained economy, it can't be. It has to be global. And it has to be global from a very early stage.